If your twin flame connection in your journey feels emotionally high and low, like it feels like an emotional roller coaster all the time, or you're constantly chasing, there's confusion, there's inconsistency within your twin flame, there's inconsistency within you. I want you to understand one thing. And this one thing that we're going to talk about today is that these highs and lows, the chasing, the confusion, the inconsistency, this isn't just about your twin flame connection. Your twin flame connection is actually highlighting these things and everything else so you can be able to unravel some things, heal some parts of you, and start integrating layers of you that you have been hiding. Because until you understand that your subconscious mind and your nervous system are actually running the show, nothing within your own personal journey and your twin flame journey is ever going to make sense, nor is it ever going to change. And so if you're new here and this is resonating with you, I invite you to join me in today's video because we're going to be talking about subconscious programming and the nervous system. Two things that I actually didn't dive into until the very end of um, my healing journey. And these are two things that I wish I would have started understanding sooner, but I didn't because I didn't have access to those tools in the beginning of my journey because people weren't talking about these things as they do now. Because the more that we evolve, the more layers that we peel back, the more we get to understand how we operate. And so if you're new here, my name is Melissa and this is Sacredness Within You. And I literally am here to help feminines from the twin flame journey find grounded clarity within themselves to help them understand how they need to navigate their twin flame journey. And along the way, I'm providing you with tools and resources to help you overcome some of the biggest challenges that we face on this journey, like third party dynamic, the push and pull dynamic. I mean, the whole list of things that we experience, right? And today I want to dive into talking about the nervous system and the subconscious mind and how this plays out, because once you start unraveling this, you're going to start to see some changes within your own personal journey that will also create changes within your connection. The first thing that I want to dive into is talking about subconscious programming, because this was something that I didn't understand in the beginning of my journey. I couldn't understand how my logical mind was wanted to be in a divine connection with my beloved. And I didn't understand why it wasn't happening until I started understanding my subconscious brain. And I started learning that I needed my conscious brain and my subconscious brain to be working together. Because in many parts of my life and in many years of my life, they were not working together. They were in conflict with one another. Because I didn't realize until I started doing the research and understanding how my subconscious brain works, was that our subconscious brain runs 95% of our behavior. These are our habits, our thoughts, the things that we do. We do all of this stuff unconsciously. And how I like to think about this is when you wake up in the morning, what is the very first thing that you do? You don't even think about it. You automatically go and do that. And then from there, you have a routine set out in place. And you have probably been doing this for many years. It's the same thing like when you're driving to work. You don't ever have to think about what it is that you have to do to drive your car or when to turn or where to turn. You just automatically do it because your brain has formed these patterns through repetition. And then how these patterns get even more ingrained is through the emotional experiences tied to them. And so the more that we do these things, the deeper those grooves create in our brain. And what then happens is it might take us longer to undo those patterns. So if you're like me and have been living out certain patterns and limiting beliefs for decades, I mean decades, it's going to take time to unlearn them and time to create new patterns. And so it's important for you to give yourself some compassion and some understanding and grace, because it took me 40 years of doing something over and over and over again to finally be like, I have to choose differently because it's not working. And to expect it to change just like that is actually so much pressure on yourself, and you're doing yourself a disservice. The other thing too is our subconscious brain runs on familiarity, not on desire. You could desire all union, all that you want, but because union is a desire for you, right? Like you can want it and desire it. That's not familiar to us because of how we watched relationships um, in our childhood, right? Like our first dynamic where we witnessed relationships was through our mom and dad, probably aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas, right? And then on TV. So that's how we started understanding what love and relationships were. And divine union is something that's completely different. It goes against everything that it is that we've learned about relationships. So to our body and to our subconscious mind, it's really unfamiliar. So it will say it's not safe. Because when you start to understand that your subconscious mind does not move you towards what it is that you desire, and that it moves you towards what feels familiar, you will begin to then see how your patterns play out. And so when we look at our twin flame journey, what feels familiar to us is inconsistency. The inconsistent messaging, the inconsistency of him showing up, inconsistent emotionally unavailability, right? Like all of that, that feels familiar to us because that's probably how majority of your relationships work. So when there's actually a connection like ours, it feels intense, it feels vulnerable, it feels raw. That is unfamiliar. And so your body and your subconscious brain is going to push that away. And then if we look at like the separation part, right, which is the sacred pause, which is necessary. But even when there's like the emotional distance between you and your twin flame, that could feel familiar as well, because you might have had similar interactions with your mom or with your dad. And then that played out in every single relationship. So then what happens when emotionally distance feels familiar, your natural reaction is going to pursue and chase after your twin flame, because that's the pattern. And then another way that this can show up is, so say you have something that's stable. Stable is going to feel unfamiliar. And when something is unfamiliar, it feels off to the subconscious brain. And so even when your conscious mind wants love, your subconscious brain might be repeating a protective pattern. And that might be like detachment. I've been talking a lot about detachment on here and all of my platforms, and helping you understand how detachment is actually a form of protection. It's a trauma response where you're removing yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, energetically from the connection. So that way you don't get rejected. There's no chance of you being abandoned. You don't ever have to feel not good enough, which is why when you detach, you can't feel your twin flame. And that's why many feminists are like, I don't understand. I can't feel him. It's because you completely removed yourself as a form of protection. So I want to give you an example of how this played out in my own personal life. Because for all of my relationships, there was a lot of chasing. I had an abandonment wound. I was afraid people were going to abandon me. I was used to emotionally unavailable men because my dad was. I was used to emotional highs and lows because my mom was like an emotional roller coaster. And so all of these things, along with third party dynamics, which was very prevalent in my family, all of these things played out in in all of my relationships except for one. And this includes my twin flame journey as well. And so for me, all of those patterns felt familiar. My body felt safe. My body felt comfortable. My mind was comfortable because this is what it is that I knew. I knew how to navigate through this. I knew what to do if something wasn't going the way that I wanted it to. This is familiar. And I remember back in 2005, I had a dynamic with somebody for a little while where he was very consistent. He was emotionally there. He was like everything you could ever imagine, like emotionally stability, financially stability. Um, like he had all his ducks in a row. Like there was no emotional highs and lows in my relationship with him. And actually, I found the relationship really boring and it felt unsafe to me. And I actually started gaining a ton of weight, which is also one of the things that happens when your body starts to feel unsafe, where it needs to protect itself. It will add extra cushion to create a barrier between you and that person. And looking back at that dynamic, it's what I wanted because it was everything that I could ask for. But because my subconscious brain and my nervous system said this is unfamiliar, I did things to create the chaos. I did things to push him away. I did things to keep this cat and mouse thing going. And he was just like, I don't understand this. Like, he's like, I'm here for you when you need me, but then you're like pushing me away. And so you can want something from your logical brain, but if your subconscious programming tells you otherwise, you are going to be keep repeating the same pattern and your brain is going to say, nope, this is unfamiliar to me until you start doing the work around this. So let's talk about the nervous system and safety, because part of our journey as feminines is to drop into our body, to be embodied. It means you need to be in your body. I recently posted a video on here to clear your lower chakras. And our base chakra, our root chakra, is connected to our safety and our stability. And this is also linked to our nervous system. So when we look at safety in our body, there are various layers that we have to navigate through to understand how to create safety in our body, because our nervous system, which is connected to our subconscious brain, our nervous system is built for survival. It's trying to keep us alive. Our ego also protects us as well, which is why our twin flame journey constantly is buttoned up against our ego, because our ego wants to keep us protected and safe, and our body wants to keep us protected and safe. Because our nervous system's job is not happiness. It is literally safety. And so when something feels unfamiliar, your body's going to say, this is unsafe, even if it's something that you desire to have in your reality. So your body is constantly scanning for familiarity. If you are hypervigilant, your body is constantly scanning for that safety. And one of the ways that you can know that your body is communicating to you that it is carrying more things than it needs to and it's constantly scanning is you will have pain in your upper back, in your neck. And it's your body's way of saying, hey, like I'm caught up in survival mode. Like I'm constantly scanning for things that are unsafe. And so you want to remember that your body is not asking you, is this good for me? It's asking, have I survived this before? And then it's going to try to use some of the same things that it used in the past to survive. Because remember, our body is just trying to survive. And we're actually here now learning to teach it how to thrive. So when it comes to your twin flame journey, and I kind of talked about these already a little bit, when the connection is calm, you and your twin flame are both doing your own thing, healing, doing what you need to do. It's calm, right? That is going to feel unsafe to you in the beginning. So you're going to then chase after him. You're going to create some type of emotional highs or high or low with him. And I've done this many a times on my path, just to create connection, because that calm connection says, this is unfamiliar. I don't know what to do. This silence is uncomfortable because it means I could have been doing something wrong or they don't love me. Emotional distance feels familiar because we've always had connections that were emotionally distant, because most of the connections we've had, people were emotionally unavailable. And when a connection is intense, like ours is in the beginning, and even when you think back to all your other relationships that are very intense in the beginning, we think that intensity, and that intensity shows up as like a butterflies in your stomach, your heart racing. We think that that is love, but it's actually not. This is the distortion. And this is what we're here to unravel so we can create inner union and then lead to 3D union. So I want to talk about 4 different ways that your nervous system is communicating to you. I know many of you know about fight or flight, right? That's our stress response. These are stress responses. But we're also diving into now these days freeze and fawn. And I want to break these down to give you some insight to what this looks like. And if you're wanting to go deeper into this work, I'm doing a deep dive in Rise this month, next week. I think it's on the 25th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, a live masterclass on this. And we're going to be diving deep into all of this and peeling back the layers so you can understand how your body is communicating to you. So the first one I want to talk about is flight. Flight, this is the chasing energy. This is like you're fleeing, right? Like the moment that your twin flame is like, I'm out of here, they go into avoidance, you go after chasing them. So there's obsessing, there's analyzing, you're needing clarity, and you're running towards them. Or what usually happens too at some point in time is that you're running away from intimacy. And if you are running away from intimacy, how this can also show up is through third-party dynamics. The next one is flight. Flight is about, not flight, fight. Fight is about control. It's about frustration. And this is the emotional resistance that we have. So this can show up in our dynamics as trying to fix the outcome. We get angry when things don't change or when things don't go our way. And this is also when what shows up as looking at like forcing clarity. Next is the freeze. And this is the one that I'm most familiar with right now because of everything that I'm navigating on my own personal journey. And this is where people don't realize that they can get stuck in, because I wasn't familiar with this until like 6 months ago, I think. And so this shows up as, numbing through scrolling, through procrastination, your inability to make a decision, and overwhelmed by simple tasks that life calls for us. And this one, like I said, is really familiar to me right now. So whenever I catch myself scrolling, a lot of times it's because I'm overwhelmed with everything that I have going on. Next is the fawn response. And this is overgiving to maintain connection. And this is what happens a lot of times in the beginning of our journey. This looks like people pleasing. This is abandoning yourself in the name of love, abandoning yourself in the name of, whatever it is that you're seeking. And this is where you're earning love through effort, through proving, through performing, through pleasing, right? And here's the thing I want you to remember is that these are not personality traits. These are not things that you say, I have to change about myself. These are actually nervous system survival strategies. So real quick, I want to talk about cortisol and chronic stress, because many of us have been under chronic stress for a really long time. And this journey can activate that chronic stress and activate your cortisol, which is also linked to the fight, the flight, and the freeze response. And cortisol is our stress hormone. And it is meant for short bursts of energy. Think about like when you are being attacked or chased. That's when cortisol needs to kick in with adrenaline to help you fight, like flight a situation or fight a situation. But the thing is many of us are utilizing this long term because our bodies are highly activated. And what happens when your body's under chronic stress? You're constantly overthinking in flight response. You're emotionally reactive. So you're in fight response and you're then shut down in freeze. So you could be emotionally shut down, right? Because you're so overwhelmed, or you burn out or collapse. And I am all too familiar with all of these because of how I used to train my body when I was running for half marathons or working out. And even when I was a personal trainer, I talked a lot about this with my clients. Because what I learned through training all my personal training clients is when your body has been in survival mode for years, and it's important for you to recognize that. It doesn't mean that you've done anything wrong. It's simply an observation to help you understand how you've been operating. So when you've been in survival mode for years, calm doesn't feel safe because it feels really unfamiliar. And you will continue to keep repeating those patterns of overthinking, emotional reactivity, shutdown. And eventually you'll get to the point where your body just says, I've had enough. And it will literally collapse and burn out. And it can happen during your spiritual awakening because of everything that is coming up, which is why it's so important to have compassion, to give yourself grace, to nurture yourself through all of this. So let's talk about receiving and holding love, because deep down inside, I know each and every one of you watching this probably struggles with this. And if you're like, oh, no, I'm good. I'm good at receiving love. I'm good at holding love. If you were good at holding love and receiving love, your twin flame would be in your reality right now. Because in order to receive, it asks you to be available and open. It also asks you to be vulnerable. It asks you to feel, because receiving is what's allowing love in. And deep down inside of each and every one of you watching this, allowing love in feels unsafe. Not because of something as bad is going to happen, because it feels unfamiliar. And if you were to be really honest with yourself, you've only loved from your mind. Your brain has been loving your twin flame this whole entire time. Your brain has loved all the other people that you've been with in the past. Your body has been numb because you've been disconnected from it. So you don't know what it's like to allow love into your body. So it's going to take time. It is literally a titration process of letting and receiving love in little by little. And the other thing too is holding love and staying open when it's present. Because what happens is when it comes, a lot of us are like, oh, we don't have the capacity to hold it. It's too much. It's intense, right? And so then we push it away and we shut down. But holding it calls you to be open and to be present with it, to feel the love that's there, the juiciness behind it, the expansiveness behind it. And the nervous system associates love with instability because that's how we've been conditioned. And we haven't been conditioned to believe that love feels safe when it's stable, because we've only known that when we love, something leaves us. When we love, somebody rejects us. And so the stability that we desire will trigger your anxiety. It will trigger the part of you that wants to sabotage this journey and the goodness that happens in your life. And if you want to know if you're really good at receiving and holding, I want you to do a little activity over the next few days is I want to see how you want to see how good you are at receiving. See how well it is that you can receive a compliment. See how well you are at allowing somebody to hold the door for you without trying to make something more out of it, but to simply receive it. And not just receive it by thinking, oh, thank you. Receive it in your body. Like, what does that feel like? And if you want to know if you're good at holding love and staying open to love when it's present, look at your relationship with money. Money and love are directly linked together. And if you're unable to hold money, where money comes in and money goes out really fast, you have a capacity issue. Like you're unable to hold it. And that's the work that needs to be done. Because if you're unable to hold money and you feel like you never have it, and when you have it, it's burning a hole in your pocket, that same thing is going to happen to you in love, but just in different ways. And when you start learning that everything that is happening in your twin flame journey is happening in other areas of your life, like I talked about love and money, you'll start to see that your twin flame journey is actually just highlighting all of these things within you that you're not able to see. They're not actually creating the trauma or creating the wound, they're just activating those things within you. And things will continue to show up in your relationship um, with your relationship with money, with your stability, and your ability to receive support until you actually do the necessary work that we'll talk about in Rise in the masterclass, and how to start unraveling this and how to start creating safety in your body and getting your subconscious brain and your nervous system working together. So if this is something that's really resonating with you, like you feel like I'm talking directly to you, it's because this isn't just something you understand mentally. It's something your body is living and feeling, and it says, yes, like this is speaking my truth right now. Like this is activating something good within me to help me find my truth. And this, like I said, this is exactly what we're going to go deeper inside Rise next week in my live masterclass. It's 90 minutes long. It's at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you cannot make it live, it's okay. You can always catch the replay as a member, and you'll have access to watching that along with other masterclasses and other tools that are in there. Because we'll specifically dive deep into all of this and how this continues to play out in your twin flame dynamic, and then show you ways that you can start shifting your capacity to receive love, shifting your capacity to feel safety in your own body, but also to stability. And I would love to be able to hear from you and drop a comment down below and talk about like what nervous system response are you mostly caught up in right now, and how does that show up in your connection and in your reality? Because when you start to have that awareness and you can start to identify the pattern, that's the hardest part, and then unraveling it is the next step. And so don't forget to subscribe and share this video if this is resonating with you and you have others that are on the twin flame path. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. That way this video can get connected to others who are needing to hear this message as well. And I'm just sending you all so much love and light. And it's always an honor to be able to be on this path with you and to share what it is that I've learned, so you can start applying what it is that I've learned onto your own personal journey. And so like I said, I'm sending you all so much love and light, and I look forward to connecting with you in the next video. Until next time.